The secret missions are stronger than you think. Now in this video we're going to be going through all 4 of the secret missions from the new Pariah Nexus deck, and I'm going to be explaining why I believe they're actually worth considering when building your list for your games. Now thankfully these have replaced the gambits from the Leviathan deck. They were they were never used, were they? They were never used. I think only in one of my games out of the whole time of having that deck did I see it, and I wasn't the one using them. But secret missions, I think, are going to be a big thing. Every single game is going to have a consideration to secret missions, whether it's you, your opponent, or even both of you. So we're going to go through all 4 of the secret missions today, and yeah, how we can possibly prepare and plan on using them. So secret missions, you get them in this deck here, Pariah Nexus deck, and at the end of the 3rd battle round, the player with the least primary points or victory points from primaries alone, so not secondaries, they get to select a secret mission. Now if you're both tied on primaries, then the person who went second gets to select first. Doesn't really matter because they're going to be secret. You have the option of either using one of these secret missions or just continuing the game as it is. Now if you were to continue the game, then the primaries just are normal and so on, but if you choose one of these secret missions, then your primary will actually get capped at 20 for everything you've scored so far. Even if you've scored more than 20, it'll be capped at 20. And then you'll get almost like a new 20 from this one secret mission card. Now you've only got 2 turns to do it, and all 4 of them happen at the end of the battle, so you've got to prepare for the end of turn 5. So if you go second, it will be in your favour. But if you're getting a maximum of 20 from those standard primaries and a maximum of 20 from a secret mission, that will max out at 40 for primaries rather than 50. So you're only actually losing 10 victory points as a max cap if you do go for this. Now with the Gambit, with the Leviathan deck, it was more of a Hail Mary. It was a last ditch, you know what, I'm losing, let's go for it. This edition, or this chapter approved, it's not always going to be the case. It could even be an upgrade of what you're actually doing already. So yeah, like I said, I'm going to go through all 4 of these now. We've got them on the screen in fact. So the first one is Command Insertion. We've got Shatter Cohesion, Unbroken Wall, and War of Attrition. That's the 4 that you can select from. Now, Command Insertion, effectively, you need to get your Warlord in range of an objective marker that you control by the end of the battle. So turn 5 ends. If you control your enemy deployment's objective marker, one of them, and your Warlord is within range of it, 20 victory points, just straight up, 20 victory points. Now, of course, it's all going to depend on the state of play, where your Warlord is positioned on the battlefield. Maybe it's already dead. Maybe it's in reserves because of Hypercrypt Legion. It could be anywhere. It's all about the position of the Warlord. But this is one of those options that you can pre-plan for when making your list. Again, if you're using the Hypercrypt Legion and you go pre-planning to select this secret mission as a backup plan for your primaries, you already know that this is going to happen. And again, if you're playing the Hypercrypt, you can pull your Warlord out, put it into the Hyperphase, into Strategic Reserves, and it can just sit there till turn 5. It can sit there till turn 5. Now that will be, I want to say obvious, it probably will be very obvious in fact, what you're doing. It's supposed to be a secret, but as soon as you pull your Warlord off, your opponent is going to know exactly what secret mission you've got, because there's only 4 and they're all very different. So you've got to almost bait your opponent into thinking that you've got a different card. And in fact, if you have chosen a different card, this would be a way of baiting your opponent to think that you've got this card. If you pull your Warlord out, they're going to think you've got Command Insertion when actually you've got something else. So you've got to play a little game here, a little mental game when it gets to the end of turn 3, if secret missions are selected. Now I would actually be aiming to control that objective in turn 4, not turn 5, and the reason being is I play the Hypercrypt. A lot of you guys do, a lot of you also play the Canoptic Court, which has pros and cons, but I play Hypercrypt, and the Cosmic Precision Stratagem is very good. Being able to Hyperphase in or Deep Strike in 3 inches away from enemy models rather than the 9 inch, or sometimes you don't even need Deep Strike. As long as they have Hyperphase, you can do it. But you can only do that once per turn, of course. If you use it in turn 4 and turn 5, that means you're going to get more units to where you want them to be on that objective marker. Again, it'll be much easier if you do go second because there'll be no counter to it. If you go first, your opponent's got an entire turn to stop you from holding that objective, and as soon as they got more OC than you, you're not holding it anymore. Whether your warlord's there or not, you're not holding it, so you're not going to score. And they don't even have to get within engagement range. They've just got to have more OC on the objective than you do. So turn 5 going second is definitely an advantage for the Hypercrypt Legion. I mean, other units that could help by using the Cosmic Precision stratagem in turn 4. Immortals with the Chronomancer, you can pop them in. Cosmic Precision, shoot your weapons, whether it's the Gorse or the Tesla, shoot your weapons, and then because of the Chronomancer being there, you can then move again. Stepping onto the objective, you've already reduced some numbers down, so you've reduced OC, you've already got the objective potentially turn 4, and then you can do it again turn 5, Cosmic Precision, bring your Warlord in, away you go, you've done it. Now other detachments will need to literally march up the battlefield to the enemy deployment zone. You've not got the hyperphase ability, of course, if you're playing the Canoptic Court, so maybe a Monolith can help, but the Monolith is mainly used in the Hypercrypt Legion. But that could help you get things out of the Eternity Gate potentially with an infantry character. That's your Warlord. Or if not, you're just going to have to be advancing for a couple of turns. Turn 4, turn 5, full on advance. If you've got the speed to get there, you get there. But if you have no way of getting there, then you're simply just not going to select that card, are you? So that is Command Insertion. The second one is Shatter Cohesion. Shatter Cohesion, there's a lot to discuss here. Again, it's the end of the battle, 20 victory points. There's 2 sections to it. So the first section is if there are no enemy units on the battlefield, you score 20 victory points. I'll talk about that to begin. That one is very unlikely to happen because if you're already at a point in turn 3 where you're the one selecting the secret missions, it means you're behind on primaries, which means you're also probably behind on actually, unit sizes and model count and everything, board control. You're probably behind already, hence why you're looking at these secret missions. To then turn that completely around and table your opponent, it's not easy, but they've put it there just in case you can't succeed with the second point. So the second point, you've just got to do one of these bullet points. There's 3 bullet points here. Every unit on in the enemy's army is battle shots. That's quite difficult, to be honest. It's quite difficult to battle shot everything. We're not exactly playing with Psychomancers all across the board, and we don't have many ways to create battle shock apart from reducing their numbers, but that's not a guarantee either. You can get units below half strength. Possible. It's possible. It is doable, not gonna lie. And the third one, the unit is more than 3 inches away from all objective markers. So clearing units that are on objectives is probably the easiest out of those options in my opinion. You're gunning down any objective that's got anything on. Again, if you're going second, that's going to benefit you because as soon as you've done your turn, it's over. Whereas if you're going first, your opponent just has to step 1 model onto an objective marker and then that's your 20 VP gone. So it all depends on that. This secret mission is not going to be as easy as Command Insertion in my opinion. It will also be faction dependent, unit dependent. I'm not a fan of this one. With this secret mission, your goal is to assert board dominance. But like I said, you're not in the position to be doing that from turn 3. You're already losing. So to turn that around is going to be quite a challenge. You've probably already lost your Wraiths, your Immortals, hence why you're doing the secret mission. Also, if you've not selected this one and you selected one of the other 3, it's not that easy to bait this card out. You could throw a few things under your breath, such as that unit's done, that unit's under half strength. And your opponent may go, huh? What are you talking about? A little bit naughty, but the game's the game. This is a mind game now, and you've got to make your opponent think you've got a certain card. But yeah, overall, for that card, I'm not particularly keen on it. The third one is Unbroken Wall. I've got similar vibes, I'm not going to lie, but let's get into it. So 20 victory points, end of the battle. You simply control 3 objective markers that are not within the deployment zone. Just hold 3 at the end of turn 5. Now, in my opinion, if it's the end of turn 3 and you're able to get 3 objective markers, then you would probably just stick to the standard primary scoring and then continue on. If you're capable of doing it, why not just continue doing it? Do you know what I mean? But there are situations where this card is actually the better play. I mean, firstly, not only do you have to only do it once, so at the end of the game, just do it once, take 3, done. Especially if you go second, it's even easier. But in some games, if you continue with the standard primary scoring, you might not even get 20 victory points from just 2 turns. Remember, there's only turn 4 and turn 5 left. Are you going to score 20 victory points from just those 2 turns alone. In some missions, yes. In some missions, no. So in a way, this secret mission could be considered an upgrade rather than a downgrade, if that makes any sense, because you've got a better chance of scoring more victory points than you did if you just carried on. Even if you had like a couple of objective markers, maybe you're only scoring, I don't know, 8 a turn. All depends on the mission, of course, but in some missions, you're not going to be scoring 20, is what I'm trying to get at. Again, if you go second, you are laughing. If you're playing that Hypercrypt Legion, you could just pile things down into objectives. There's no comeback unless there's a fight phase. But remember, you only need to hold objective. You don't need to go charging in unless you know you're going to take the units out, or at least drop their OC dramatically. You just need to step toes onto objective markers, and you can even do it with things that don't normally do that sort of stuff. For example, monoliths, Catan shards, Doomsday Arcs. You could advance all these units, just get them onto the objective. I mean, the monolith has OC 8, the Doomsday Arc's got OC 5, the Catans have got OC 4, except for the Deceiver. So just advance them, get the objectives, and stick around. The Hypercrypt Legion, as we said, is always going to be an advantage for pretty much all of these secondary. I keep saying secondary, it's not secondary. They're going to be an advantage for these secret missions or these secret tasks. And turn 5, there's going to be a lot of bloodshed, so there's going to be a lot more space to be hypercrypting in, hyperphasing in, especially those hex marks popping in. There's a complete objective that's got no one on it. You can hyperphase in a hex mark destroyer with 1 OC, hold on to it, job done. That's one objective. A way to bait this secret mission would be to start advancing models up. So let's say you don't have this card, you've gone for the one with the Warlord, the, I forgot what you call it now. What's it called already? Command Insertion. Let's say you've actually gone for that. You could start advancing models up the board, and your opponent's going to go, aha, they've got Unbroken Wall, when really you don't. You don't have Unbroken Wall. So they're going to start getting onto the objectives, completely forgetting about your Warlord getting into the enemy deployment zone. I mean, a very good player will try and cover all bases. But yeah, you can bait things out. Then the final one, War of Attrition. This one is very interesting. I'll read it out and explain what's happened to me in my first game of Pariah Nexus, and then we'll go from there. So, 1 or more battle line units from your army that are within your opponent's deployment zone. So that's a must. You must do that first. 1 battle line unit must be in your enemy deployment zone to continue, basically. And then one of the following conditions must apply. Either A, there are no battle line units from your opponent's army on the battlefield at all, so you've already removed them all. Or B, if they do have any, they are only within their own deployment zone. So if any of those two things are happening, alongside the fact that you need a battle line unit in the enemy DZ, 20 points. So let's talk about that for a minute, because I had a game yesterday. It didn't actually happen, but it was sort of pointed out to me. My first game, I had no battle line units. I was sort of tinkering around with a little bit of a list and a bit of experimenting with the new missions and stuff. I knew I didn't have any battle line units, but it didn't occur to me about this secret mission. So I was playing against Chaos Demons, Demon Prince Pariah. That's my common opponent. He had Nurglings, and he said, you know what, you've got no battle line units. All I've got to do is deep strike those Nurglings into your deployment zone, and I've got 20 victory points if this comes up. Now, thankfully, he actually was ahead on primaries by just a bit, so I was the one that got to select the secondary mission, or the secret mission, not secondary mission. The secret mission. Yeah, I think if he was ahead, he would have selected that, and then those Nurglings would have been in, similar to the Hypercrypt, they would have been into reserves, and then hidden away, and then pop out, and then they've got stratagems similar to Cosmic Precision. They'll just pop in, job done, 20 victory points. So I got away with that, although I didn't actually win the game, but I got away with that moment. Now, in terms of scoring and defending against this secret mission, first of all, I'd highly advise having battle line units within your list. There's not just this that it relates to, there's mission rules that relate to doing actions within engagement range or advancing and doing an action. There's loads of other things that relate to battle line now. They're definitely boosted up. So yeah, add one at least. And if you've got any battle line units within your list, which you should have, I would advise turn 3 onwards, or at least when it gets to the sort of turn 4, get out your deployment zone. Get out and get hidden away. If you've got the Hypercrypt Legion, get them in reserves and leave them there and bring them back turn 5 in a safe area. Because if they're in your deployment zone, they're basically not there. It will count as one of those bullet points. Every battle line unit in your opponent's army that's on the battlefield within the opponent's deployment zone, that's 20 VP. So that will be counted as that. So you've got to have them out of your deployment zone in order to prevent them scoring. Now the Hypercrypt Legion is a get out of jail free card here, because Like I said, you can hypercrypt your units into reserves, leave them there from turn 3, turn 4, pop them out turn 5 in the safest area possible so that they can't be killed. That will deny the 20 victory points if they've chosen that secret mission. As for scoring the secret mission, we need a battle line unit within their deployment zone. Again, the Hypercrypt Legion is going to help. You could have a Chronomancer with a Overlord with the Translocation Shroud with some Immortals. So you could be an auto-advancing 6 through terrain, shooting with Tesla, and then moving a further, the Chronomancer's movement, I think it's 6, isn't it? Moving a further 6 inches because of the Chronomancer ability. So they're quite rapid and they'll get into the enemy deployment zone. You then need to go gunning for all the battle line units. Try and clear them off. Be careful though in turn 5, because if you're going first and not second, the enemy battle line units that are within their deployment zone can simply just step out. And once they've stepped out, they're not in there anymore. And that's going to count. So that's going to deny you points. Well, all 20 of them, in fact. So you've got to just take out all the battle line units, in my opinion. Some matchups won't have many battle line units. Some matchups, the whole army will be battle line. It's all swings and roundabouts, depends on what faction you go up against and the list, of course. Now, from the 4 secret missions, I personally would be having some sort of plans with Command Insertion for getting my Warlord into the enemy deployment zone, and also War of Attrition, the battle line thing, which we've just mentioned. Those are the 2 that I would try to tinker my list around as a backup plan. It also, again, it depends on the mission. If you think that you can score more from them secret missions from turn 4 and 5 than you can from scoring the standard primaries, whether you're behind or not in terms of dominance, you've got to kind of map it out at turn 3. There's a lot of times where you may even be leading because of secondaries, but the secondaries don't count here, it's just the primaries. You're going to add the primaries up, whoever's got the least gets to choose a secret mission. So you may even be leading, but the secret mission will still potentially be the better option. So you've got to study the mission card again, just make sure, see what you think you can score from that mission card and go, you know what is better, the secret mission or the primary mission? It's as simple as that. It could literally be an upgrade to what you're already doing. Sometimes it's not, and you just carry on as normal. All it's going to mean is you can only max out at 90, not 100. I mean, 90 is a fairly good score. Unless you're going to grand tournaments, everyone's getting super high scores there, and you need like 100 every time, right? That's the only time where you may want to stick to your primaries, but you're probably already winning anyway. But 90 is still a good score, so I've got no problem with scoring 90 if I can. And for those of you that play fixed, I think this is a huge consideration with your list build anyway, because you would be quite similar to me. You want to have a lot of control before the game even begins, so you know exactly what you're doing, where you're going, plan A, plan B. If you can also do that with the secret missions as well, happy days. If you're playing tactical, it's a consideration still. It's nothing to be ignoring, because you've still got to look at it, not just for your sake. Your opponent may be selecting this, and you've got to think about, how am I going to defend these 4 cards that I don't know that they've chosen? So you've got to think about it. It's going to be a lot more common than gambits. Gambits were not a thing. People just used to leave the gambits in the box. Now, secret missions are going to be every single game. So keep your eye out for it. Look at the 4 missions. See what you can do with your list when you're building it. And yeah, let me know if you played any matches already with the Pariah Nexus deck, and did secret missions come up? I'd imagine they did. Let me know how it went down in the comments below.